the most brutal medieval torture devices ever used. Medieval Europe is often remembered for castles, knights, and grand cathedrals. But beneath the surface of faith and chivalry lay a much darker reality. A world where justice was cruel, pain was public, and suffering was entertainment. Tonight, we're opening the dungeon doors to reveal the most brutal torture devices ever used during the Middle Ages. Instruments designed not only to punish, but to terrify anyone who dared step out of line. Viewer discretion is advised. This is not for the faint of heart. We begin with one of the most infamous devices of all, the rack. It was simple but horrifying. A prisoner was tied at the wrists and ankles, attached to rollers at either end of a wooden frame. As the torturer turned the handles, the victim's body was slowly stretched. Ligaments tore, shoulders dislocated. Sometimes, the prisoner's arms and legs were literally ripped from their sockets. The rack wasn't just about pain. It was about control. Few could withstand the agony long enough to keep their secrets. And that was the point. Confessions, true or false, spilt under the screams. Next, we have the Iron Maiden, a coffin-like chamber lined with sharp spikes. The victim was locked inside, impaled from all angles. But contrary to popular belief, historians now debate whether the Iron Maiden was widely used in the Middle Ages or if it was exaggerated later to paint medieval justice as especially barbaric. Either way, the image of being sealed alive in a spike coffin remains one of the most chilling symbols of torture ever conceived. Perhaps one of the most humiliating and excruciating devices was the Judas cradle. Imagine a tall wooden pyramid with a razor-sharp point at the top. The victim was stripped, bound, and lowered slowly onto the point, sometimes with weights added to increase pressure. The body's own weight did the rest. This so-called cradle tore into flesh, causing unimaginable pain, blood loss, and often deadly infections. It was torture designed to destroy not only the body, but the dignity of the condemned. One of the most sadistic inventions came not from medieval Europe, but from ancient Greece, and it was sometimes revived in the Middle Ages. The brazen bull. This hollow bronze statue of a bull was fitted with a trapdoor. Victims were placed inside and a fire was lit beneath the belly. As the metal heated, the person inside was roasted alive. But here's the truly cruel part. Pipes were designed in the bull's head so that the victim's screams would sound like the roaring of an angry beast. This was execution as performance. Suffering turned into spectacle. Then there was the Pear of Anguish, a deceptively small device shaped like a pear with petals that expanded when a screw was turned. This was forced into the victim's mouth, rectum, or, in cases of accused adultery or blasphemy, other orifices. When expanded, it caused severe internal tearing. Victims often died from blood loss or infection. Its true historical use is still debated, but just the thought of it is enough to make anyone's stomach turn. Another device of pure destruction was the breaking wheel, also called the Catherine wheel. A prisoner was tied to a massive wooden wheel, arms and legs spread apart. The executioner then shattered their bones with hammers or iron bars, weaving the broken limbs through the wheel's spokes. The victim was left to die slowly
public. A grim warning to others. Some lingered for days before death finally came. Not all torture required elaborate machines. The strappado was terrifying in its simplicity. Victims had their arms tied behind their backs and were suspended by a rope from the wrists. The sudden drop wrenched their shoulders out of joint, sometimes tearing arms from sockets. This method was favored by the Inquisition, a quick, portable way to inflict agony without leaving obvious wounds. It was pain without mercy, hidden in plain sight. Finally, let's end with the boot. Designed to cause crushing injuries to the foot and/or leg. Made of 4 pieces of narrow wooden board nailed together. The boards were measured to fit the victim's leg. Once the leg was enclosed, wedges would be hammered between the boards, creating pressure. The boot crushed bones with wedges or screws, sometimes heated with irons. The pressure would be increased until the victim confessed or lost consciousness. Survivors were often crippled for life. From the rack to the Spanish donkey, thoughtful. These devices remind us of a time when justice was measured in screams and fear kept entire societies in line. They weren't just tools of punishment. They were weapons of control, symbols of power, and dark testaments to the human imagination's capacity for cruelty. We often think of the Middle Ages as an age of faith and knights in shining armor. But lurking in the shadows of the castle walls was another reality, one we should never forget. If you found this journey into the darker side of history chilling, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more stories of true crime, conspiracies, and dark history. Which torture device shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and stay cautious. None one teaches 5.